Praise belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I begin in His blessed name, and I bid you all Ramadan Kareem, Ramadan Mubarak, and may our fasting and our small services that we indulge in order to abstain from the worldly pursuits that may lead to greed, that may lead to self-degradation, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants us the strength in this month by which to reach that balance, because as you know, Islam is a religion of balance. Allah says, وَأَقِيمُوا الْوَزْنَ بِالْقِسْطِ وَلَا تُخْسِرُوا الْمِيزَانِ. We command you to maintain everything with a balance. So, in this month of Ramadan, as you know, fasting is a means of balance. It's a means of balance. And when we abstain from food, it is not the norm for us. And we ask the question, why should we abstain from eating? Well, because when we do abstain from eating, it makes us alert. It makes us sometimes agitated, because we feel that, I'm hungry, I really need to, but there's a command of God that we have to obey. And we wonder, why is Allah commanding us to do something as such, to abstain from eating? And we find that desire that we hold back is indeed something Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to strengthen us through. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. While we're settling down, because I do see sometimes a little bit of noise, it's a bit of a distraction. Thank you. This verse 286 of Surah Al-Baqarah, as I mentioned yesterday, and I was talking about the self and the journey the self has to go through in order to reach this self that has succeeded and fulfilled the obligation of why Allah created us. So let me delineate in very simplistic terms, why did Allah create us? Many people in Islam, when you ask them, Christians too, sometimes even Jews, but particularly Muslims, when they are asked the question, why did God create us? They will typically answer that God created us to test us. That's a very typical answer. Allah created us to test us. While that is true, but that is not the reason He created us. Allah did not create us to test us. He created us because He is merciful, and He created us purely out of His mercy, not to test us. We exist because of His mercy. Simple. Allah says, كَتَبَ عَلَى نَفْسِ الرَّحْمَةِ. And Allah also says in the Quran, وَلِذَلِكَ خَلَقَهُمْ. For this reason, for the rahmah, I created them. So it means Allah created us purely out of His mercy. And mercy is a very powerful word. As I mentioned the first night, we as Muslims should be the most positive people. Our character should be positive. Our demeanor should be positive. Our outlook should be positive. We must be vigilant in maintaining a positive trajectory, positive akhlaq, positive lifestyle, and we should have low tolerance for negative behaviors. If we do that, we will have the first level of paradise on this earth. As you know, this earth is a paradise. It's hell on earth because us humans cause hell on each other. As I mentioned yesterday, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَظْلِمَ النَّاسَ شَيْئًا وَلَكِنَّ النَّاسَ أَنفُسَهُمْ يَظْلِمُونَ. In fact, Allah has many verses like this. Allah says, even mithqala dharra, even an atomic particle, Allah does not do dhulm. Allah does not do dhulm, meaning He does not do injustice, nor does He make hell for us on this earth. He does not. So I'm sure it's spinning in your heads right now, but what about all these problems with earthquakes, and we have floods, death? It can be very debilitating, it can be very painful when we lose someone. All these are consequences of lack of faith. For when we have deep-rooted faith with yaqeen and certainty, we will find that trials and tribulations will be easy to manage, even if they are natural disasters. Because you will have hope in Allah, and you will know that every second when we have lived on this earth, we were positive, and we will bring positive results. And positive results leads to eradication of poverty, mental poverty, spiritual poverty, intellectual poverty. Today, most disasters that take place, if you examine, the ones who suffer the most are the ones who are in the lowest levels of the economic strata. Meaning the poorest people are the ones who die the most. They are the ones who receive the most punishment, quote unquote, when floods take place, because they are living in flood zones. The wealthy live on upper zones. They know where the flood zones are. When earthquakes take place, the homes of the poor are the ones that collapse. The rich ones have built them as earthquake resistant. So is it Allah who's causing such hell on people? Or is it us against each other due to our own greed and due to our own malice and hatred and desire to pontificate, to push our own agenda over others? Think about it. Whereas Allah created us purely out of mercy. And He said, if you think in a very positive way, while negatives do exist, and it's beautiful that negative exists, if you don't have the power to lose in a game, then you and I are not excited to go watch a game. You have superstars in soccer and in basketball and in all the sports, tennis. They become superstars because they avoided the losses. But if the losses were removed, then there's no value in their stardom. So the negatives have to coexist with us. They're essential. The ability to lose and to get sick and to die and to fail are essential if we're going to honor each other when we pass and when we succeed. Heroes are not ones who go into safe havens. Heroes are the ones who go in dangerous places, and they go and bring good out of that which is bad. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not done an evil thing when He says, min sharri ma khalaq. قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ مِنْ شَرِّ مَا خَلَقَ. Say, I seek refuge by the Lord of the dawn from the evil He created. The evil here is the potential to go wrong. Like a teacher who gives you an exam, and there are 5 possible answers in every question. 4 are evil, 1 is good. But we don't say the teacher is evil. The teacher created the evil in the exam. Because if you put the wrong answer, you get a 0. But the teacher is not evil. The teacher puts the evil for you to avoid it in order for you to realize that you know it. So Allah has put evils around us and the potentials of evils, but the transaction of evil comes due to our own ignorance and when we think negatively. When we look at the glass as half empty, then we become destructive, if not, of course, self-destructive. This month of Ramadan is a month for us to reflect on the graces of Allah. Allah created us purely out of His mercy. He put us on this earth only because of His mercy. But the continuation of His mercy demands that when this human being among the creations has been shaped and formed and given intelligence and beauty, needs to be put in a system of trials so that this blessed creation is now able to honor themselves. When Allah says, وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ. Indeed, we honored the children of Adam. What's this honor? The honor is that we are put under a trial. For if you are not qualified to be tested, then you're put aside. It's like playing for a team. Let's say you play soccer, and the captain doesn't call you, lets you sit on the bench. And you're wondering, why is the captain not calling me? Because maybe the captain feels you are not worthy of representing the team because you don't have the ability to be tested. Now ask that player, how do you feel? They'll say, I feel insulted.